D. Okay. So I know we've got a video feed. Are we seen? Are we there? Can you hear us, Houston?
All right.
It's good?
Uh-huh.
Oh boy, it's finally fixed.
All right.
Sometimes all you gotta do, Andy. Crap. I said your name. Sometimes all you gotta do, Andy. Here's the thing also, since your name is the exact name of one of my co-hosts, usually this is double tempting. So I'm not taking responsibility. Problem is,
perfect.
What happens is you unplug everything and plug it all back in. One of them works, you'll never know which one, and it'll never happen again like that.
Yeah. All right. So if I want to find the live stream again, how does one find that?
Woof. That is a good question. So let me figure that out for you.
Just in YouTube, like type FFOP probably, and then it'll come up live, maybe.
I mean, there are literally dozens of options. Let me go ahead and see if I can. Dozens of options. Let me go.
Oh, I think this might do it now.
You got it?
Maybe I have to go to the end. Oh, don't know.
Tell you what, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Through the chat box, just like they did when I was a kid.
The typing square.
We didn't call it the typing square when I was a kid. We called it the chat box. All right. So, guys, now we're going to wait for everybody to file in. We got to wait for everybody to show. Yay, sound is on. Do we sound okay is what I'm going to ask you. Do we sound okay? I know that you hear us, but do we sound okay? When you look at this mic, do you think, wow, that is the sound quality of this caliber quality broadcasting mic, or does it sound bad? And also, can you hear our guest chime in?
I'm here.
Can you hear our mystery guest behind the digital curtain? Krista, you want to post this to the Facebook page maybe so everybody who got lost will
I can
find their way back like a wayward lamb as we wait for mystery guest Farke. I mean, not really mysterious. He's here. Hi, we got a hello guest from the typing square. First guest, welcome.
Oh,
no.
Hello, guest.
Noticed I have not. Well, you're the guest. I noticed I have not mentioned your name yet. So we have one greeting and one. So okay, I think we're probably good. Now here's going to be the real test: the theme song. Will the theme song play? So, guys, buckle up. I'm sorry for all of the bumps in the road. Hopefully, this isn't another one. So, Krista, let's hit it.
You're listening to FFOP Radio.
Reach the island.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Dave, and this is Hangout, and that's pretty much it, because this is the last one. We're changing the name, guys. Spoiler alert. But don't let that fool you, or trick you, or anything else. Sit back, relax, allow us to usher out this Monday for you. I have a very special guest on the show. He has been on the podcast several times. First time on the live show, so I'm looking forward to probing him psychologically. Please help me, typing square, in welcoming Dr. Andy Farke, paleontologist, on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah. So this is the last live one in this version. So is this like a preemptive, like you're not going to be allowed to do another one after I'm through, or what's happening here?
So what's happening? Everything's getting retooled because technically for the last 19 episodes, I've had no title for this show.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes that works for people. It didn't work for this. It was a stumbling block every time. So I decided, maybe I'll think of a name. And then I finally did. It sucked. I wanted to change it. Then brilliance struck. My camera battery always dies at around the same time every time. So the show is now going to be called Until My Battery Dies, because we're going to go until you have had enough of me or the battery in my camera is dead.
Oh, I love this. So it's nothing that I did or am going to do.
No.
It's preemptive.
Much like the KT barrier, this is merely a natural byproduct.
Okay.
However, what I want you to know that before we get into dinosaurs, and I want to get the chat, get the typing square ready, everybody get your dinosaur questions and or comments ready, because first I've got to run Dr. Farke here through the FFOP 5.
All right.
So are you familiar, Andy, with the FFOP 5?
I should be, but no.
That's fine. Nobody is.
Oh, okay.
And I love explaining it.
All right. I love this. All right.
So what I've got before you is 5 probing psychological questions, all devised by me, that will allow me to profile you. And basically, this interaction will dictate how you are seen to me for the rest of our lives.
Okay, so it's like spinning the mystery wheel or something.
It is. It's kind of like the dating game, except that date you take home and you live with them forever.
Okay.
No pressure. So, Andy, buckle up. This is the first one. So, what is something you're into that most people aren't? Now, what I mean by that is something you could corner someone at a party with and bore their ass off that isn't something I already or most people already know about you.
Obscure liturgical and religious jargon. Because
Really?
The other night, the other night, like actually last night, we were folding laundry downstairs, and my kid, my youngest, who's 3, was like holding up a handkerchief, and he's like, "What's this, Dad?" And I'm like, I completely blanked on the word handkerchief and busted out the word sudarium, which is like a relic that was, supposedly associated with Christ. It has like his imprint on it in some cases. And, and it's like I love that kind of jargon and all those sorts of like little, Latin type words. And also like it's really handy when I can't think of like what is the real word for this. And so I'm just going to like, okay, if this was like if I died and became canonized, and what would my kids be like, passing off these relics as? And so you need like a nice, cool name for them.
This, I'm not going to lie to you, Andy. This might be the new most compelling answer for this question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm here to serve.
And I might be a little biased. And of course I am a little biased, because what I'm going to say is I too have a similar love. I love religious fiction, and I love divorced from the religious fiction, I also love the Jewish faith. So I love Hebrew. I love all those terms. I love all of the figures. I love it all. The pomp, the circumstance. So I get it. It's very cool. And it definitely, I don't even know how to say it. Like I love that old timey jargon is so like, how do you find it when you drop a term like that? How does it hit your brain?
It's like I don't know the other word, so I just like pop it in there. But like I've read on a lot of things, and so like the whole history of like religious relics and that kind of stuff is just fascinating to me. So sometimes it's like that term is just rattling around in the back of my head, and there it goes. There it pops out at the most inconvenient time.
I get that. I totally get that. But I know, and not for nothing, but I think that genre, if you will, has such an interesting use of vocabulary that it never disappoints.
Yeah. I mean, jargon is jargon. We all have like, every field has it, and it just happens to be what we latch onto sometimes. But
that's part of it is like, it just sounds cool to say also, because after I know that after I read Dante's Inferno for the umpteenth time, after every time for the next week, I'm completely insufferable because I'm just dropping all these terms that nobody wants to hear and nobody cares about, and I'm begging to be asked about. So I get you. I get it.
Yeah, I approve.
I love that answer. Second answer, now dental oral hygiene, moved to the 2 spot. Sorry, Randy, if you're watching. All right, Andy. Number 2, give me a band that you could listen to for the rest of your life, exclusively. Band or artist, I'll take.
Oh, I got to think on that for a second. Probably. Oh, you know what? I've actually got it. So maybe I'm going to regret this.
That was literally a second.
Yeah, one of my favorite bands these days is a heavy metal disco tribute act called Tragedy. And they have some of the best covers of disco songs and of like pop songs from kind of like that 70s, 80s era.
So
they're covered. Yeah.
Oh, not to interrupt, but is this like a Me First and the Gimme Gimmes where it's covers for like the irony's sake, or are they putting everything into it?
They are putting everything into it. So we actually saw them play here in LA at Whiskey A Go-Go, which is a fairly well-known music club. Like it's a club I've actually heard of. Yeah. Even though I'm not like a club person. We went to see them there. Like they played there and it was one of the most fun music acts I've ever seen. And they were awesome. And like they can actually do music.
That's cool. So and their name is just Tragedy?
Tragedy, yeah. Yep. Huh. Just like I think it was a Bee Gees song. Yeah, and they take a Bee Gees song and like, I'm not really a big fan of the Bee Gees, but you add it into metal and it's actually pretty good.
My appetite has been whet, Mr. Farke. Yeah. I'm going to have to last person's music I checked out was a real disappointment, Trung. But I think something might happen here.
Damn it, Trung.
Yeah, they're well worth checking out.
Plus I love a good metal. Like I grew up on Metallica and Megadeth and all that stuff. And so when I was able to branch out and start reaching into different, like, because I thought metal was metal. But then you find power metal, and then you find thrash metal, and then you find fantasy metal and all this other try and stay away from the Icelandic stuff.
Yeah, that's words to live by. One of their best songs is a mashup of Raining Men by the Weather Girls and Raining Blood by Slayer. And it works. It's so good. In fact, that was when we were doing our field work in Utah. That was the song we would play in the quarry every morning to get ourselves pumped up. Because I was like, we were contractually obligated to play that song.
That's awesome.
There are things and people that go out of their way to make something interesting, but totally off brand. And I think when Cradle of Filth covered the Andrew WK song, She Is Beautiful, they only did it once, but what you're telling me is what you're showing me rather is an entire band. And number one, I love the kitsch factor. I love kitsch factor. Number one, that'll get you hooked. But if you come across a band like, maybe you've heard of them, maybe you haven't, Steel Panther, they've come up a couple of times. Musically, unlock. They are performers, man. And so since there's such amazing guitarists and singers, you look past the lyrics.
The terrible words.
Sometimes you do it for the irony, but other times it's there for the skill.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I like that.
You can do a little both.
I like that, and I'm going to look them up.
Okay, awesome.
Question number 3. You have 4 limbs, but you have to lose one right now. Which one is it? This is
it has to be the whole limb, not just like a portion.
Yeah, either it's at the joint that connects it to your torso.
It's got to be a left leg.
There we go. That, my friend, is the 100% right answer.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you something. If you were to ask someone that and they were to give you an arm, I don't care if it's their non-dominant arm or not. Do you understand that?
I'm willing to accept all points of view, but I'm also willing to accept that many points of view that aren't mine are wrong. So,
There we go. That's a scientific attitude. I'm going to write that down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Please say that one more time so that our audience can take that in.
About my leg or
about my
points of view.
About the point of view.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's basically what I tell my students sometimes, which I probably shouldn't tell them, is like, there's you're all entitled to your opinion, and you're all entitled to the fact that your opinions are wrong. So there's a million ways to phrase it.
See, and I say that since I'm not a doctor, since I didn't go to school and I don't have any book learning, I get called the asshole for saying stuff like that.
I know. And I'm called educated. It's funny how that works, huh?
I'm going to borrow your diploma.
Please do.
I'm just going to hold it up so they can't read it just real fast. And then I'm going to hit him with that opinion shit and see what happens.
Kayla said, I think he wants to pick an arm, but someone slipped in the answer.
I don't know. I don't think Andy would give up an arm. He needs
I thought about it
for digging.
But no. Yeah, I know exactly, for digging
Typing. It's
For
literally
typing?
anything.
I think what people do, I think here, I like to split all of humanity into two types of people, and here are the two. They're the two that or the side that you and I fit into, where we're like, we need our arms because we got shit to do, and we can get a titanium leg. And then there are people who, through some sort of delusion or defect or inebriation, want to lose an arm. I can only imagine for the new experiences it would bring them. However, it only like when you have two arms, there's still a good chance you're going to drop your phone in the toilet. You want to cut that in half and increase the chances by 1,000,000%? No, sir.
Yeah, you sound like a voice. This is the voice of experience here about the phone in the toilet.
Not only experience, but of reason. I was hoping you would say.
Yeah. Okay, that too.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. You're the doctor.
With experience comes wisdom, and I'm just hearing wisdom here now.
Thank you. That I want that on a T-shirt, Krista. All right. So now this is an interesting one that I have not. I've not been. I don't want to spoil it, so let's just ask it. So
okay,
long weekend. It's 4th of July. It's Labor Day. It's Christopher Columbus's birthday. You get off work, and you get to put your brain in the body of an animal. Which is it? It can be anything that is or has been alive, just nothing mythical. You got 3 days to stay in it.
Trash panda, raccoon, totally raccoon. Because it looks like they have fun. I'm the kind of person like I would love like I'm not above like eating old food.
Okay.
And like that's what they do. And like just think of all the cool experiences you could have as a raccoon. You know, and they've also got the opposable thumbs. Like the opposable thumbs. They've got the cool tail.
You know,
they can eat their weight in trash.
I'm of two minds. I'm shocked, number one, at the left turn into panda, trash panda. But not even a dinosaur. I thought one of 1,000,000 ceratopsian species out there. Maybe you'll find something special. And he's like, nope, trash panda.
None of them have opposable thumbs. You know, like
right.
Yeah, and that's a stickler for a lot of people. I myself would hate to do everything with my mouth.
Yeah. See, there's no choice other than being a raccoon.
I wonder. Here's the question, and since you're a scientist, maybe you know the answer.
Yeah.
When binturongs smell each other and they go, "Whoa, that smells like popcorn," but since they have no reference, I wonder, do you know what it is possibly in nature that also smells like buttered popcorn that they are likening it to? I mean, you've been in plenty of fields. You've been across the globe. Are there any plants and or animals out there that you've taken a sniff of that are like, hey, man, that's buttered popcorn and that's no lie?
It's a common defect in beer that's not been fermented properly. So maybe they're just super into the craft brewing scene.
Oh, you know what? I bet they got stuff all over their bodies that's fermented crap that collects in their fur.
Yep. That could be.
Either that or they live right outside of like the Jelly Belly factory that makes the buttered popcorn beans, and they subside exclusively off of the rejects.
Yeah, or they're in by the dairy case. By the dairy case, it's got to be.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, lots of hypotheses to check out here, Farke. It's time for a grant.
Yeah.
I'm no paleontologist.
Maybe it's just like a marinade that like they come with, like ready made.
So you think they have like a special blend of herbs and spices they season their nests or whatever with?
That's
got to be it.
What a counterproductive way for a species to be. Like, imagine if it garnished its nest with like rose, thyme, dill, garlic, and all Colonel Sanders did was walk up and accidentally break the chicken's neck when he stepped on it. He's like, oh shit. Actually, time to turn lemons into lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. Waste not, want not.
I think that might be my new documentary. Hashtag the Colonel lied.
Yeah.
Oh.
Chickens actually season themselves before death.
Yeah. All right. Incidental poultry.
I like that answer. So now let me ask you this: since we have the capacity, are you going to be one of these creatures in the wild, experiencing things, fending off, perhaps giving into predation, or are you going to stick it like in the San Diego Zoo and like hang out with the people?
Oh, zoo would be boring because you got to be around the people.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, I just take my chances in the wild. And like, if you're a raccoon, who's really going to mess with you?
Right, I get that, and that's true. There's probably no. I take that back. You're looking at coyotes. You're looking at mountain lions. You are looking at a rough life.
That's only 3 days.
Oh,
I know, but
yeah,
they got to eat, and there's a lot of them. But here's also the thing: if you find like a couple of retirees, you could spend that 3 days getting heart disease and leaving that body of that raccoon decimated when you zap out of the 3. So, and also probably not going to get
win-win.
Yeah, and also like that old lady, as soon as she sees those coyotes sort of skittering around the back of the yard, she's going to come out with a hot mug of coffee, bam, right in their eyes. Grandma savior, savior of raccoons. Are you going to try and steal anything
as a raccoon?
Mm-hmm.
Just sweet trash.
That's it. I would say. You know, I always say to people in this situation, you're going to be an animal for 3 days. Do the whole 9. Do everything that you're going to do. Try and catch a fish, steal something, whatever raccoons do and are known for. I say do it, and maybe even some of that
like breaking in
secret stuff.
Yeah, so I'm like breaking into these old people's house, stealing their Cheetos, and then leaving like little cheesy paw prints on their kitchen floor just to.
Yeah, because remember, you're going to have your own intellect. It's going to be Andrew Farke, paleontologist, as a raccoon. You could walk, like, I'm sure it's not hard for a man of your intellect in a raccoon body to find a way inside of a house. Get in there, make some trash, like dummies on the couch, dress them so when the old people wake up, that'll really freak them out.
Yes.
Maybe put a thank you card or have a little trash facsimile yourself in the middle, like at a newspaper. This would be adorable, Andy.
So Gavin.
I love it.
Gavin.
And as I actually just thought of like the cherry on the sweet 3-day in an animal body cupcake is with my little raccoon opposable thummy type things. I'm going to break into their TV cabinet, open up their DVD collection, and then swap all DVDs around. And then they're going to be like so flustered when they try and watch a movie the following weekend.
These are the people who cared for you for 3 days, and this is your goodbye for them. I was thinking,
hey, if I'm allowed to do mischief.
Oh no, I get it. I would totally do worse. But I was expecting with your little hand to leave like a little preschooler, like tiny little raccoon, like turkey card. Aww. Like you get a little finger paint, you make a little tiny raccoon hand turkey, and you say thanks for everything. I don't know.
I'm totally doing that.
If I had thumbs, I would
Cheeto dust.
Yeah, I would definitely like mess with some people. If I have my intellect, animal body, and thumbs, you better believe I'd be writing notes to people. This isn't going to be like a son of Sam. I'm not going to whisper vaguely into people's ears. You're going to have hard evidence that I told you to do that stuff.
Oh yeah. I like it.
Time to mess with some heads, my friend. And then after the 3 days, poof, back to a regular raccoon, and they're like, "What happened?
Back to it.
Where did your intellect go?"
Gavin says, DLR says experience is what allows you to recognize the same mistake every time you make it.
Mm-hmm. You know what I might do? And Andy, you were the genesis of this. What I might do to spice up this question, I might make it a prerequisite that the animal that you swap with gets your body for that 3 days.
Because that sounds like a win-win.
I would love to see or watch those and see you as a raccoon skittering around the college and the museum, like eating out of dumpsters, stealing people's fries. You would be like frightening, but also adorable.
Nobody will know the difference, honestly, the way you've just described it.
Let me ask you this. This might be the tip-off. Do you on occasion wash your food like at a drinking fountain or something? Because that might be the tipper.
I would never do such a thing.
Yeah. So maybe they'll be like, "Oh, Andy's washing his burger. Something's up." Yep. 50 bonus points for anyone in the typing square who remembers what Gavin's one of Gavin's animals was, what he wanted to be. I think they were both fascinating. But while they're thinking of that, Andy, this is the 5th and final question. Maybe the most important one, some say. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love Steven Seagal?
Ooh. Is like 1 good or 10 good?
this is regs rules. 1 is bad, 10 is good. 1 is the least amount of love you can give Seagal.
I'm going to give him like a 5, because I neither love him nor loathe him. I don't really watch any of his movies. Like, I think there are far better action heroes out there. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give him a 5. It's like I don't find him like awfully, awful, but he's Steven Seagal.
Kayla is right. Something has gone amiss here. So
yeah,
Andy, I want you to know something. There are 2 types of people in this world, and I was mistaken early on. I had thought there were 2 types of people, and those people were Steven at a 1 and Steven at a 10. But there are so many people who are like Steven at a 5, and I'm like, what? You're insane. But so here's the thing: the 1 and the 10 person are the same. There are the Steven, polarity people, and there's Steven wishy-washy people who are tossed about through the universe on waves of Steven nostalgia and/or forgetfulness. Yeah. Now, the bad news for you is, Andy, do you remember our conversation earlier about those types of people who would lose an arm? We are in a similar situation where we have a Steven Seagal and we have a 5.
So I have to give something up?
Yeah. Now you literally do have to give up one of your limbs.
Oh, no.
But here.
One of his limbs?
Yeah. I'll reduce it to a digit, either a toe or a finger. Nice.
Okay, pinky toe on Gavin.
All right, Gavin. I expect that.
Sorry, Gavin.
I expect that bubble wrapped in my mailbox. But here's the thing: change the trick. Send it media. It's the cheapest, and they're not going to check. Be like it's a book. Yeah. They don't know it's a toe. They ain't going to check.
Yes.
All right, Andy. I gotta say, first 4, you were nailing it, buddy. You nailed it. And then the 5th one came, and we had some issues. And now I'm like,
no choice.
I understand some people will paint themselves into these corners, but now I'm wondering, should I have worn this blazer? Steven Seagal at a 5?
You didn't put your glasses on.
I did not wear my smart guy glasses. We're not doing trivia. I only put on the blazer because we have a guest. But now I should take one arm out.
I like the blazer.
Thank you.
I like the blazer. Yeah.
This, not for nothing, but the internet has opened a wide array of products and services to people. So a blazer like this, $2, and I am not joking.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
This is a Chinese blazer. Full disclosure, that's why it is red. I am a communist. Everybody leaves. So, guys, Andy, thank you so much for bearing with me on that. I always like to make my guests at least a little uncomfortable before we start really hanging out.
Yeah, I love these questions. These are like the top 5.
That's why I asked them. I'm glad that you see that. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna forget that you answered that last one. We'll just go the 1 through 4, and that was a great one. I'm gonna pretend.
Remember what I said about wrong opinions earlier. You know
exactly. I'm gonna pretend that somebody Jeff Gululi'd you, but they missed your knee and hit your head, and you should have been a 1 or a 10. So we'll just take it as a given. Okay, so guys, typing square. Now's the time. We have Andy Farke, world-renowned Andy Farke. He knows dinosaurs. He knows beer. He knows ceratopsians. I took a Patreon poll and I wanted to touch upon dinosaurs that people wanted to hear about. So everybody wanted theropods, Farke.
That's okay. I got Wikipedia at my disposal. I'll give them all the Wikipedia facts.
I asked. And here's what I was hoping for. I said, theropods, we're looking for tyrannosaurs, we're looking for stegosaurs, ceratopsians. I ran all the big family names. T-Rex and his ilk usually wins, but I'm always hoping that somehow, some way, stegosaur will come out from last place and surprise me.
No stegosaurs.
Yeah, Camarasaur is my all-time favorite. Like, I heart Camarasaur, but Stegosaur's making a good day. What's the bid for second place? So sad.
That's true.
So sad and lonely, the Stegosaur. Do we have any questions in the chat? But let me ask you this. is there anything new? Have you found, like, since the last time, has anything progressed? I know Gavin has given me tons of cool information about our local stuff. Is there anything new that we should catch up on?
Oh, I wish. I mean, like, it's been a month since we talked last, a little bit more. We're in a pandemic.
Yeah.
You know,
I wasn't
ain't much happening
much
for science on my side. There's always the cool stuff. There's the new ornithischian dinosaur that made it into XKCD, the well-known webcomic for being buried in a volcanic eruption, although that wasn't like the main point of the paper. The main point of the paper was that, hey, there's a new dinosaur. It's cool. Yeah. So there's like new dinosaurs. Let me ask you this, because I think this may be more indicative of somebody's personality than anything. When you go out, is there something in the back of your mind that you're hoping to find? Like, you maybe you say to yourself logically, never in a million years, but are you thinking to yourself, I want to bury my pick into the ground, pull up and find, what is it? I'm going to have to say like a theropod, a new species of theropod. Like, that's really horrible and cynical of me.
It's a hypocrite.
But I know, but behind every hypocrite stands like a lot of like seeking after fame and fortune and all that stuff. And
we're all susceptible.
Yeah. And, if I could like put my pick in and like find like a complete like fossil, like little dromaeosaur or something like that, that'd be kind of cool. If it had soft tissue with it, like feathers and stuff like that, that'd be even cooler. Yeah, it's like a little velociraptor thing. That'd be cool just because they're cool animals. And it has to be a new species. I don't want it to be like any one of those lame-o like. That
was a given. I'm not saying you go out and you find another trike. I'm saying you go out and you find something. This is the Farkesaurus or whatever.
Yeah. And like I don't want to find like a tyrannosaur. Apologies to Evan, who's on the chat there, who's like knows way more about tyrannosaurs than I do.
I believe I follow Evan on Twitter.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So he knows tyrannosaurs. Like, that's the person you get for tyrannosaurs. But like, I don't know. Like, I just don't want to find a tyrannosaur. Like a little velociraptor type thing would be awesome. Anything like that would be cool.
I would not that it's again, a million years would never happen. Yada yada yada. But what if I accidentally stumble my way onto a dig site as either a volunteer or I bamboozle someone by knocking them out and taking their uniform? And I pull over something? I would love to find a new hadrosaur with an interesting crest.
Okay, I'd settle for that.
I think hadrosaurs, even though they're a dime a dozen, they're the beauty is in the details. Even if it's like one of those ugly turd-shaped ones that you've seen, or the ones that make no sense, like geometrically, it can be forgettable. Like the parasaur isn't an outstanding shape, but it became, an icon. And it didn't even have to be that. I would just love to see a new hadrosaur that, I wouldn't complain if we found like Nest, like my own Egg Mountain, but that's obviously asking too much. I would just love a brand new body optional, brand new hadrosaur with a crest and bill.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that would be cool.
Because, you're never going to find the biggest and you're never going to find the smallest. So you got to find the weirdest of something.
Yeah, I think, but like every fossil's weird, like, are we looking for like terminal weirdness here?
I think we have to adjust everything on a grade, because from like the outside looking in, it's like, whoa, yeah, everything is weird. But when you step into that world and everything sort of normalizes, then you're like, okay, here's what we expect bare minimum out of a dinosaur. Where can we go from there? I think everybody wants.
Okay, yeah. The crests are really cool. Like, that's what's, especially the crested hadrosaurs. There's like the boring hadrosaurs, which don't have the cool crests, and then there's like the cool hadrosaurs. Yeah, so what are the cool hadrosaurs?
Like iguanodons and myosaurs, like they play a role in everything. And iguanodon does have the like the thumb spikes. So there's everybody has their little claim to fame, whether it's known or not.
Yeah.
So, but then again, if I could pull out, the best chance I have at pulling out something that actually exists would be like a Camarasaur skull, since they're literally everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. There's a few of those. Out there, but they're still cool. They're boxy. They got like all those cool struts. They got the weirdo, like spoon teeth.
Yeah, they're still my favorite, man. I love every inch of that skull. I think is weird and but it's like weird in an IKEA way where it's like angular and sort of modular, and you're like, I see how it fits together, but do I want it in my house?
Do you want to put
That is a good point.
the directions?
Yeah.
He's like, that's an interesting piece of furniture. It can stay at IKEA.
Yeah. The one time I found something that turned out to be a new species, like a holotype. So the first named specimen for a new species. It was part of a sauropod skull.
Okay.
But it wasn't even the good part though. It was just the brain case. But still, it was enough to like be a new species. So I have a soft spot for sauropod skulls, and they're small, they're compact, you can carry them around easy.
There are so many things. So I guess, do we have anybody asking any questions about dinosaurs? I think everybody who shows up knows about dinosaurs, so I might just go off on a tangent here.
Yeah, and Evan's talking about how he's not wrong about finding the biggest and smallest. Sometimes it's good to find the most bizarre.
The mediumest, yeah, and the craziest. But I think now when we first met, here's some little history for everybody out there. When we first met, it was at the Beer and Bones here at the Arizona Museum of Natural History. And just like every other time I get in front of a paleontologist,
insert word vomit.
I don't know, like, you know that scene in the movie where like the mean girl comes up and puts her hand like over the entire face of the dorky girl and shoves it so she can get in front of the jock?
Oh, did you do that or did I do that?
I did that. Like,
okay.
I was like, I ran up to the tables. I was like, speed data scientist, here I come. So I found the paleontologist. Everybody, I made polite chit chat. So people, whatever at the table. And then Andy sat down and I'm like, okay, so this and this and this and this and this. And I try not to be a fanboy, but you hear those questions that are like, so what's like something really big that you, all those like pleb questions when I have real scientific inquiries. But that's basically, if you pull Andy out of that, you can put Gavin in there. If you put Gavin out of that, you can put Matt Wadel in there. It's how it happens. And the fact that nobody has been like, nice to meet you, and then ran like as soon as the first contact was over is pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
Because I feel like I should be, if we're going to keep in the same metaphoric universe of the movie people. So you're the jock, right? I would be the nerd who's like, hey, Flash Thompson, great ball game last night. And you'd be like, nah, locker.
I've never been accused of being a jock before. I'm not sure if I'm flattered or disturbed. This
only metaphorically. I'm not saying anyone would ever confuse anybody involved in any of these roles.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, in my middle school basketball career, I had a grand total of 1 point.
Hell yeah, more than I got, man.
Yeah.
So we have a question
all right.
from Evan. He says, all right, which type of ceratopsian group is your favorite, Camarasaurians or Centrosaurians?
Oh, are Chasmosaurians or Centrosaurians? I've done a lot of my work on Chasmosaurians, but I think I like Centrosaurians. So the Chasmosaurians are the ones like Triceratops and Chasmosaurus. They tend to have long frills. They tend to have big brow horns and a short nose horn. Centrosaurians are like the opposite. They tend to have shorter frills, shorter brow horns, longer nose horns. Not universally, but in general. I like the Centrosaurians because those are the ones that, on average, tend to get just the really, weird frills with all sorts of spikes and stuff coming out in a way that most Chasmosaurians don't yet. There's some exceptions, but yeah, Centrosaurians just look cool.
I think you go to the Chasmosaurus for like surface area, and you go to the Centrosaurus for like wow factor. Like the Cosmoceratops, I think, offers up something strange.
Yeah.
Whereas,
so here,
like the Pentaceratops or whatever, or the Triceratops, the Torosaurus, you're looking at like, that is a big backyard. That is real estate. That is a man who owns a plantation. Whereas your Cosmoceratops and its ilk are like the bodegas, the niche, niche little guys.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I love just like all the weird things you see on the frills, the spikes, and all that stuff. Cosmoceratops is like the outlier in Chasmosaurians because it's kind of like it's trying to be a Centrosaurian.
But it just,
and in fact,
can't quite.
No, it's like that, that knockoff Centrosaurian. In fact, when we I was on the research team, or a small part of the research team that did the initial description for Cosmoceratops, and one of our working names for it was Chimeraceratops. That's just kind of our nickname for it, because it looked like it was a smush together of a centrosaurian and a chasmosaurian, like some sort of weird hybrid.
So when we get to the nitty gritty of it, when you say Chasmosaurian, are we looking at a definite bony like structure, or is it just like a set of rules that it has to fit into?
There's definite bony structure. In fact, the best ways to tell them apart is not really so much in the frill. It's more in the nose region. So Chasmosaurians have this really weird, elaborate nose bone. Centrosaurians tends to be sort of blah. So yeah, there's a couple different areas in the skull that wouldn't have been visible when the animal was alive that you could use to tell them apart. But it's like going way down the rabbit hole of ceratopsian nerddom, to get into the stuff. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, this one, has a complex premaxillary strut. That's great, but it's like, probably nobody, out there listening really knows or cares what that is. Nor should they.
I get it. It's all, that's the thing when you get into these big body types. I'm surprised that most of the time they're split into very few groups, as opposed to for example, Ornithischian and Saurischian. That basically is everybody into two groups. So I like it. It fits into my philosophy of everybody fitting into two things. So when you get the centrosaurs and the chasmosaurs, again, science is backing up everything I love. But it is strange, though, that some of it is counterproductive, which is confusing to the layman.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fair.
So,
but also,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, but the other thing, too, when you start naming groups of dinosaurs, is you can just name left and right if you want. In fact, there's a little that creates a problem in science sometimes. So, if you name something, you always have to be cited, or you always should be cited afterwards. So you get your citation points, which gets you your street cred as a scientist.
You turn those in at the ticket booth.
You do, and you get those as citations and all this. So there's sort of a temptation to name groups of dinosaurs, even if they don't necessarily need it. And so you can have not just your Chasmosaurinae and your Centrosaurinae, but then you can go in there and you can okay, we're going to have our Pachyrhinosaurinae, and we're going to have our Centrosaurinae, and we're going to have our Pseudoceratopsinae, and then we're going to have in the Chasmosaurians, we're going to have our Triceratopsins, we're going to have our Chasmosaurins, and you can just throw names on it left and right. And then anyone that wants to use that name, it's sort of like the scientific equivalent of a trademark. And so if you want to say that name later, you have to cite that original person. So there's a little bit of that push and pull between I want the fame of naming a group of dinosaurs with the pull of we don't really need all these dinosaurs to have names, or all these dinosaur groups to have names.
Yeah, but where do you draw the line, especially in science where minutia is the thing? If you can take something and slice it into a smaller and smaller piece and keep studying that smaller and smaller piece.
Yeah. Well, there's a hard and fast rule I use, though.
Okay.
Which is, if someone else wants to name this group of dinosaurs, it shouldn't be done. If I want to name the group of dinosaurs, I have a well-reasoned argument behind all of it.
I feel like you guys have been separated at birth.
There's a definite pattern and a theme emerging here that I approve of, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
And that theme is ego.
If I could put a stamp on the shit that I say, saying, "Hey, this is science approved" or scientist approved, even, I think I would get a lot less back talk.
Yeah, for enough money, I'll say anything is scientist approved. It's like, being always accused of being in the pocket of someone to say that climate change is real. It's oh, well, yes, of course, I'm getting the $10,000 check a month.
Yeah. I say you go so far. Go so far even to go to a Staples, go to an office supply store, get yourself a nice big, not one of those little rinky-dink returning address stamps. I'm talking big turn of the century, train station style bam bam stamps.
Yep.
That says approved right across the center, and then stars and bars, a nice crest, and then it's this is approved. And it says Andy Farke, and then it'll say science in nice filigree.
Oh, perfect. I love it.
So you
'Cause
say, hey,
that won't ruin. Yeah.
no, listen, it's nothing but integrity. There'll be stars. There'll be olive branches. It will look scientific. We'll put a beaker on it.
Well, beakers are always scientific.
Yeah, and the scientific rigor will be the price tag of $5-10 grand. And you say, well, your science checks out. Bam.
Yeah.
I want it to be so big, Andy. I want it to scare people. I want you to have to custom order ink pads because they don't make them big enough for this stamp, my friend.
Oh no, this is totally sounding like one of those setups where you got to get me on audio saying that I'll do anything for money as a scientist, and then tomorrow it's going to be this proves that dinosaurs aren't real.
Yeah, that's been my long con this whole time.
It's been like a 3 or 4 year con. I'm such a sucker.
Listen, hey, we may have known each other for 3 or 4 years, but it took 10 before that to get this plan just right.
That's true.
Oh man.
And we had this on recording, so we could just clip that stuff out.
And not only that, I'm also going to ruin the plan before I get to see the stamp.
See, that was bad strategy on your part. See, this is why scientists always win.
Agreed.
Yeah, we can play a con too.
I'm saying, if society goes sideways and science starts selling indulgences like the Catholic Church does, you're going to want that stamp, my friend.
Oh, all right. Right next to my sudarium, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I'm saying society collapses. There you are on a mountain of canned goods, like a Game of Thrones style throne of canned goods with your stamp and a nice, really, I'm saying tastefully, not cheesily done, but a tastefully decorated Burger King crown. And you would wheel that stamp and people would say, oh, Your Majesty, is this a science? They would say, and they would give you a can of green beans or whatever's left after the apocalypse. And you'd say, this is a science. And you'd smash them on the back with your stamp.
Yes.
Now you would just be approving of people.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm painting you as this world-ending dictator, and maybe that's unfair, but I think it seems fitting.
I'm okay with that. With power comes responsibility, as they say.
But not only that, a really badass crown.
Yeah, I'm all about the crown.
So, do we have any more questions in the?
Evan's got a good one because I actually had the same question.
Let's hear it.
Andy, if you could pick anywhere in the world to travel for fossil digs, where would it be?
Oh, such a good question. I would say right now, Antarctica. Because A, there's cool fossils there. B, it's really badass field work. Very complicated field work. It's cold, but there's penguins.
Watch out for the thing.
So you can snuggle with the penguins if you get cold.
Will they let you?
Yeah,
I would go if they would let me.
Only one way to find out. Yeah, and also it's one of my goals in life is to set foot on all of the continents. And Antarctica so far has been the only continent I have not yet set foot on.
Until they set up that international airport, it's going to be rough getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But that's I've been very lucky to, we were talking about great cons earlier, scams. I've been able to scam the whole paleontology thing as a way to travel the world on other people's dime.
Oh yeah.
And so Antarctica, that's the last Pokemon I need to get for my deck.
Yeah.
In terms of the,
Not too off topic, but that's how I describe you in conversation. When I bring you up, I would say, Andy Farke, he's the P.T. Barnum of paleontology. He will rip you off as fast as he can, as many times as he can.
Hey, if it gets me to Antarctica, one of the coolest things about being a paleontologist is having opportunities to go really neat places.
Well, there's got to be. Now, okay, so here's maybe another interesting, and I hope to God there's something here, but maybe this only happens in movies, but I would like to think, and maybe you've got an experience of just some wealthy eccentric dropping something on you guys, being like, here's a bunch of money to go do X. Has that ever happened? Probably not, but maybe.
I wouldn't say like, eccentrics, but we've certainly, like a lot of what we do at our museum is supported by really generous donors that believe in our mission and, love fossils and want to help us do what we do. So
I want more of a crackpot though. I want like someone coming out of like a smoky, like you're walking to your car at night. It's like one of the lights are flickering. You're in that parking structure. You're on the second level. It's underground. There's like a fog rolling in because you're by the ocean, and you're like walking to your car, and you hear like a so you walk a little faster. You go, You walk a little faster than a guy just out of the fog. Boo, he's in a trench coat and he's like, here's $1 million. I need you to find a zany, maybe it's Gavin, and he's like, I need you to find me a Cretaceous bat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd do that. I'd do anything.
He's got
Gavin.
Yeah, at $1 million.
Yeah.
He's got a nutty theory about a Cretaceous bat that I find compelling.
What, you mean like a pterodactyl? Sorry. Sorry, I'm just trolling now.
I trolled him so good the other day on Facebook.
Yeah.
I got you good, Gavin. You have to admit.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah. I forget where we're going. So also, Andy, maybe give me something like what was the? Obviously, I'm sure every time you find something and that thing turns out to be new, it's probably a rush every time. But what's the one thing you always look back on? Like, what's the crown jewel in your array that you look back on? You're like, man, that was the thing. That was when I did it.
Yeah. I would say, well, finding like that brain case, that skull piece of a sauropod was pretty cool back when I was a grad student. Also, the day that one of my colleagues and I found 2 skeletons of this animal called Simasuchus. It's like this little plant-eating pug-nosed crocodile from Madagascar.
Yeah.
They're really adorable. They're really ugly. They got like, instead of like a regular crocodile head, it's basically like someone stuck a square box on the end of a crocodile body, and they cut off the tail and made it like this little like cute tail on the end of it.
Like
so we found
of a reptile world?
It kind of is, yeah.
What is this
it's
thing
kind of like the
called
box.
again?
It's called Simasuchus. I'll type it in the chat here for those that are on the live stream. But so I was able to with it was really cool to find like 2 of them all at once, and with one of my colleagues, and it turned out to be like parts of the skeleton that had never been seen before, and they're just like cool animals.
Man, these are adorable.
Yeah. It's like this is a little croc you could have like in Arizona, like running around your yard.
What era are we in? We're in Cretaceous?
Late Cretaceous.
Okay.
Yeah, late Cretaceous.
Yeah, totally doable. 1 meter long. Like this is like it. Listen, not that I don't think science should be trying to resurrect giant monsters, but maybe start with this one.
Oh, he is
cute. This is like one of the Mesozoic era things that I think would genuinely make like kind of a cool pet.
For those of you who are coming here after or don't want to look it up, if you've seen The Land Before Time, this is Spike.
Oh yeah.
This is everything you think of when you think of Spike from The Land Before Time. Don't think of the adult, but as he was, this is the most adorable crocodilian. I also love that every crocodilian gets the Suchus moniker, so it's real easy to keep track of.
And some of these pictures kind of make it look like it's a weird stage of a frog, like with the tail.
Mm-hmm. It does look like Pollywog a little bit.
Yeah.
They do kind of, yeah. They're really bizarro animals, but they're so cute. They're so cool. They're kind of. I think they're
weird.
Yeah, they got like they're kind of like an armadillo, crocodile, iguana, ugly hybrid. Just really, really, really cool. So finding like specimens of that was one of the most memorable things I've had.
Now, where on the planet are you finding Simasuchus?
So these are Madagascar.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I was a grad student, talking about earlier about like the great scam of being able to get other people to pay for your travel, I was brought on this expedition as one of like the student helpers, and so I got they flew me to Madagascar. This was like a week after my wedding, so we got married, and then I'm like, I'm leaving for my honeymoon, honey, and I'm going to Madagascar without you. And so that was my honeymoon, like with a bunch of other people I was not married to. My wife's back in the U.S. and yeah, it was just a blast. And so I was able to go as a grad student 2 more times after that. So 3 times as a grad student, and I was back twice after that. Yeah, and it was just like such a cool place to do field work, really amazing people, really amazing fossils, and yeah, just a neat place to be.
That is so cool.
How long do you usually go when you go like for a dig or expedition?
Yeah, so when I was doing the Madagascar work, it was about a 2-month stretch at the longest. So yeah, it was a while. It was long enough. When I'm working in the U.S. or domestically, usually it's about 2 to 3 weeks, kind of depending at a stretch, depending on what it is. Because it's a little less time, a little less expense to get there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's depends on where you're going. But yeah, for the overseas ones, oftentimes it was a minimum of a month, sometimes up to 2 months.
Wow.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing that I think everybody sort of overlooks too is you got to be tough as shit because you're out there in the elements, right? Like some of these dig sites are away from literally everything. I don't know if I can hack that.
I don't know. I mean, but when it came down to it, like the most rugged field work I've done has actually been in the U.S. Not places like Madagascar or Mongolia.
Well, I'm
and
not
the reason
saying
for that is
like in particular. I'm saying out in the world in general, no matter where it is, going out and like digging up huge, possibly rather huge chunks of rock and staying out there, like that takes something, man. And
yeah, I don't know. It's fun. It's like, you kind of just go semi-feral.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that you're living in squalor, but you just kind of like, you don't worry about being outside in the elements. You take care of yourself as best you can. But some of it is just like being the experience. It's not just the outdoors. It's like the experience of being out with other people. And, the crews that I've been on in general, we try and, cultivate a group of people and only invite people that are going to be like cool, that like if I'm going to be in the wilderness for like multiple weeks at a stretch, I want it to be around like people that I like, or totally. People that aren't going to like create drama on the team. So you go out with people, it's just like you get some amazing friendships, you're all in it together, and if you got like the right group of people, the time goes so kind of quickly sometimes.
Yeah, every situation like that, whatever, if it's an office or whatever, you're forced to, especially out in the wilderness, be with these people for days and days and days. I can imagine that being a very hot crucible that will burn away impurities and dismiss people that you do not like. Because seeing everybody for 8 hours a day, anyone can walk into an office and pretend to be someone they're not for 8 hours. But if you're out there digging, you're in somebody else's face for 24 hours a day, essentially. Mm-hmm. I can imagine there being a lot of strength in those relationships and a lot of stuff that don't make it.
Yeah, and that's why now it's like someone that actually leads field crews. So I'm in charge of putting together the team. Like that's one of the things I totally think about. It's like you want to give as many people an opportunity to go out, because I'm all about, opening up opportunities, but also like, for people I know, it's, some stuff it's like, okay, is this person, from what I know of them, are they going to get along with other people if they're in like a small group of 5 or 10 people for a couple weeks, or is this someone that just turns out to be like kind of a jerk, or maybe someone that's going to harass other people. It's like you don't want that. You don't want like sexual harassment going on in your camp. That's bad. That's happened too many times. With in field crews that I've heard about. So you want to just like find like, okay, I'm going to have people that are going to treat each other nice, that are going to really do the work that we need to do, while also trying to have an eye towards bring other people into the fold, because it's also not fun if you're just going out with like the same 3 people every time, So.
It's kind of like this. I will say, I don't know why I thought of this, but like when you go out in the field, I imagine it's kind of like this, where you're there for the work. Everyone's there for sort of the same cause. And it kind of, bear with me on this nerdy revelation. It is kind of like Star Trek. So on the USS Enterprise, everybody's there for the same goal. You're not necessarily going to get anything out of it because money and things are useless now that we have replicators. But in that system and in your system where you're out in the field, the people who want to thrive will, and those who don't won't. And so like when you take away, like if you're doing it for the love of it, like you're going out, and obviously if you're going up for the field work, you're doing it because you want to unearth the specimen. real work can separate the men from the dudes who are a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Or the women from the dudes that are the pain in the ass.
Or I'm saying, by platitudes, he, she, they, it, them, or I.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, because I imagine, when I was a kid, I wouldn't imagine being a paleontologist and getting to that point in your career where now not only do you have to grapple with scientific issues and that of grants and your superiors at museums or whatever institution, but also having to manage like essentially a group of kids that you need to make sure like everybody's lunch is packed and no one's going to fight and no one's going to say, are we there yet, on the way down to the thing? Because I imagine the worst feeling in the world would be like getting off the bus, the one person you were kind of iffy about immediately showing that they're an asshole, and seeing that clock starting to tick on the 2 months.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. There's always the option to send them home early.
Is there? Oh, I would I would make a big show of it too. I would do like a whole, like you have to fire a flare and they get ripped off the ground by a zip cord or something.
Oh, they get taken off the island like in Lost or whatever.
Absolutely.
Wait on a cliff and a helicopter shoots by with a hook that grabs their ripcord and pew, right off to the mainland.
I wish it was that easy.
Someday.
Joe asks,
Joe.
Removing a dig or any findings from the equation, what has been your favorite part of the world to visit and what has been your least favorite?
So like as a vacay, probably.
Oh, yeah. So one of my favorite places to visit was, we did a trip to South Africa a couple of years ago. That was actually Paleo Tide, which was the excuse. And Gavin was there because I just cannot escape Gavin.
For some reason, you guys are inextricably tied.
Yeah.
It is like he is the I don't know what he is to me, but he's the Moriarty to my Sherlock Holmes,
I like that.
or vice versa. I don't know which way it is. But yeah, so it was. The main point to get there was to go for a paleontology conference, but we turned it into a vacation also. Not just me and Gavin, but my wife, who came along on this, separate from Gavin. So we that was just a fun trip because we got to go visit some of the Kruger National Park, which has amazing wildlife. Getting to see animals like elephants in the wild and rhinos in the wild and hornbills and all these other really amazing animals was really cool. That was just a fun place
Were you
to
in
go.
like just one of those big caravans and like how they have it in the movies where like the lion comes and climbs up on the hood?
Oh no, the best part about Kruger is that it's self-drive safari. So like if you want to do stuff at night, you can't, you have to be part of an organized tour. But during the daytime, we were basically in like a little Honda Civic, like driving along. And they're like, yeah, if you see an elephant in the road, stay like 100 feet back because you don't want an elephant to sit on your car.
Yeah. I can see that being a problem.
And it was so much fun because, A, the wildlife was cool, but B, because we weren't part of like a group of people that only wanted to see lions or only wanted to see rhinos. Like if we wanted to stop and watch like the crappy little antelope for an hour and a half, we could stop and watch the crappy little antelope for an hour and a half, which is really what I wanted to do because I love antelope. I think they're like way undersold. They're so cool. They taste good also. But also there's just like so many cool things there that aren't the big five, the rhinos, the lions, this kind of stuff. Lions are actually kind of like boring. It's cool to see one in the wild, I won't lie.
Right.
But also it's like once you've seen one, it's like, okay, they're just sitting there. But things like the little antelope, they're actually doing like behavior actively. The little dogs, the jackals and that stuff. So I loved that visit to Kruger because we could just like go at our own pace and see whatever wildlife we wanted to see.
You know what? It's hard to be, because if you go somewhere, you are going to be a tourist. So it's hard to be a tourist without being a tourist, if you know what I mean. It's, I like to think of myself as one of these people when I go someplace. I don't want to be one of the popcorn munching public who just sort of moves in and out of attractions and doesn't take anything in. But you have to move through those people to get through those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what most things are set up for, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But obviously now, being a jet setting paleontologist, you probably get to go to a bunch of behind the scenes stuff where like plebs like me are out at the front, like getting muck sprayed by hippos, and you're in the back like petting baby rhinos and stuff. I bet.
Trying not to get that close, but yeah, you get to do the cool stuff. You get to see neat things, and also just like having like, I think, don't even have to be a paleontologist to really enjoy it. Like if you have an interest in nature, if you have an interest in just like soaking in the world, it's fun. And another memorable moment from that trip was like you can like get a walking tour, a walking safari, where it's like you and people with very large guns, like so you don't get like gored by a Cape buffalo or something. And they're you have these really knowledgeable local guides, that work in the park that are taking you out, and just being at ground level and seeing a Cape buffalo 500 feet away was so cool.
More power to you, but I've seen the ghosts of Sahara or whatever, and no matter the size of the gun, those lions.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I get it. Like I love that. Like the ability to do that. Like the fact that that sort of exists, I think is nice, because I think as society sort of moves into the future, everything is becoming more safer, more homogenized, and less risky. And I think the risks let us know that we're alive. Whereas I would not go walking around and the only thing keeping me from being a pile of scat is a large bullet. There are people out there.
Someone else with a large bullet. Yeah.
There are people. I don't want to climb Mount Everest, but there are people out there who do and go up there and are permanent relics of that mountain now.
Yeah.
I think maybe not more people should be doing that, but I like that there are things like that exist.
Gavin says
I agree.
Awarded.
Spooky.
Gavin asks, are there any good arguments for erecting any new clades, sorry. Any weirdos that don't fit in either chasm or centro?
Chasmosaur or centrosaur. Gavin, rewind your podcast. Go back to the part where I retreaded all this. Like, pay attention, dude. No, more seriously, like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't, like, are we going to keep our two subfamily horned dinosaurs? I think at least for now we are. There's some of the stuff like Diabloceratops, which is this sort of weird, sort of early form.
I love that one.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that fits in its own group. I don't, there's no good evidence for it right now, but maybe as we find more things, that'll happen. Yeah, that's nothing right now.
Maybe you could explain this to me, and maybe I've already thought it through as I'm asking it, but like Protoceratops seems like such a bizarre creature to happen at the end of everything. But I guess the more I think about it, if like Trikes and its ilk are the cows of the Cretaceous, then Protoceratops is probably like the sheep, the goats.
Yeah, that's I would say sheep, because they're like in the way. They're kind of stupid. They smell bad.
They just sort of fill a bottom of the food chain niche.
Yeah. They're everywhere.
Maybe they're like rabbits. Whatever. Everybody's interpretation is going to be the same, but for me, the first time I see or experience a dinosaur is very indicative of how I'm going to see them for the rest of my life. And the first Protoceratops incarnation, or rather depiction I saw, it was like one of the old timey ones. So it was like this weird sort of mottle, sort of bluish black, inky green, and really smooth. So I always just picture them as like a pig if you made it dark blue and gave it a sports helmet or whatever.
Yeah.
So sad. And I don't know. I just don't. I understand they're doing their thing, and I understand that there are people who are fans of rabbits. Protoceratops always seems like such a sad sack when literally it is right next door to velociraptors.
It's true. It's getting eaten by velociraptors.
I would have liked to, and this is maybe just the romantic in me, I would like to have seen a tiny ceratopsian like Protoceratops in an arms race with the velociraptors instead of just lying down and being sheep.
But yeah, Protoceratops is actually like the big ones are bigger than any velociraptor.
Yeah, I get it. Like the pigs get big too, but they're still pigs. I mean,
they'll still cut you though.
Yeah, Protoceratopses are cool, but there's no Protoceratops. I want I want a Coyote Roadrunner situation.
Okay. Maybe that's what it was.
I'm just basing this off of the way, like the dopey way a Protoceratops looks versus like the live killing machine that is the Velociraptor. Maybe I don't know, and Protoceratops were really good at painting walls or leaving out piles of bird seed or getting their hands on Acme roller skates. I don't know, but until I am proven wrong, they are the dopiest creatures of Cretaceous Mongolia in this guy's opinion.
I guess the bar's set fairly low, so I'll give you that one.
This is what I'll always do when I make sweeping generalizations. The bar will be so low it doesn't matter if they're right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Remember, there are no wrong opinions.
Yeah, and this one is especially not wrong. Any more chat inquiries?
No.
All right. Well, hey, Andy, thank you so much for showing up. I feel like I have wasted enough of your precious time.
Oh, I'm never going to get that back, and neither will you. That's my only consolation.
Luckily, it was a mutually canceled out. It's like a positive and a negative charged ion. But hey,
I like it.
What I would like before we get out of here for the night is, since you're on staff, at least for the night, do you have a staff recommendation for us? Something either, like a video game, maybe a movie. Well, we didn't touch about your video game, so maybe that. Let's talk about that. So Farke here is moving through a grand challenge. Why don't you tell us about it?
Oh yeah, so when I was a kid, we didn't have a Nintendo, so I missed out on Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3 at home. I'd play them at sleepovers and stuff like that at friends' house. I was always jealous. But now that there's like emulators and there's pandemics and stuff, I suddenly had a way to I had time. Yep, it's like the golden age that we live in. And so one of my goals for the summer was to work my way through all the Super Mario Brothers series, so 1, 2, and 3, using an emulator. And the wonderful thing about those is, as I'm playing on my laptop, because I'm awful at Nintendo, I didn't get that muscle memory when I was, like a 6-year-old or 7-year-old. So I'm dealing with like almost 40-year-old reflexes and muscle memory and that stuff. So I've been, I can save endlessly. So like every 5 seconds, I can, in Super Mario 2, it's like, okay, I'm going to save right now. Okay, 10 seconds more, I'm going to save again. So if I die, I'm going to not have to do the whole level over again. And so I've managed to conquer, Super Mario Brothers, the first one, the original, 3 times. Okay. Number 2, I think we've done it twice. 3, I did it once because I don't really like 3.
Really?
That was like my life's work fulfilled was playing all of those, with my kids watching. They love to watch dad play video games.
Oh yeah, Let's Plays.
Yep. So,
I've got to say, I am honestly shocked. The third is your least favorite.
I think it was just so repetitive. It just kind of as you get to the higher levels, it's just it's. I mean, I guess that's true of all of them. It's the same thing over and over again.
But what about Giant World, man? You got to give it up for Giant World.
That's true. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But it wasn't so compelling that I needed to play it again.
No, I get you. All right. Yeah, I like that. I fell into the Raspberry Pi scene a few years back. So the missus and I have been through Metal Slug, all of the Metal Slugs, more times than I can count. I'm watching her go through Mario 64. I've been through Ninja Turtles more times than I can count. I played the Power Rangers game on the SNES more times than I can count. So I get you. I love this day and age with emulation because now cutting edge technology back then can be reproduced with a blob of spit and a stick. So I can emulate all the way up to the PS1 or the N64 with relatively little hardware. It's insane. It's nuts. So I do like that. So maybe I guess it's a plug for retro gaming or classic gaming. All right.
It's a lot of fun. And it was also, that was I'm going to turn my brain off and just play some Mario for a little bit.
They are good for. I'll give you that, man. Yeah. Emulation stations are great. I'm going to tell you this. Here's a recommendation from us. There's a game called Among Us that I've been pushing recently on the Facebook. It's like a Steam game, but it's also you can play it on your phone and it integrates over both. But it's essentially One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and if you don't know what that is, basically you're on a spaceship, everybody's on a spaceship, you got jobs to do, want to use an alien traitor, and so it's like a murder mystery, and you have to find out who the alien is before certain criteria are met, or you have to fix the ship by certain blah, 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 blah. And it's super fun. It's almost like a live-action version of Clue.
Okay, perfect. Like the movie or the board game?
The board game. So
no Tim Curry.
No Tim Curry and no Martin Mull. But you're still running around as like these little space guy doodads. And I think those are for a free game, you can't beat it. So that's our recommendation.
Cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing a big live stream of it too. So if you can show up and get murdered and or murder someone with us on the spaceship, that'd be sweet.
Sweet.
Guys, of course, I got to push the merch store. I want you to go and check out our store. It's got the Be Like Popeye gear on it, and all the proceeds of that go to animal rescues of Popeye's choosing. And I guess that's it. So I want to thank everybody in the typing square who came. As usual, it froze for me about an hour ago, so I don't know what anybody's been saying. But I'm sure you've been hearing me berate you and Andy for the last hour, and I appreciate it. Andy, I also want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. It's always cool. People I think get swept in by the dinosaurs, and then they are forced to stay via your charm and personality.
Or one of those.
It's sometimes it's the flip of a coin. Sometimes I get one, sometimes I get the other, sometimes I get neither. Fans of this show will tell you. Anywho, guys, once again, thanks so much for showing up for the last episode of Hangout and Farke. And so we will see you next time on a brand new show. But same old Dave. See you next time.
Bye.
Cool. Wow.